Do we Jim Gogan on yet by chance?
He sure is.
Yeah, I'm here.
Good morning, Jim. Hey, everybody. Happy Monday. We're nearly ready to start the second week of the Twilight Zone. It's been a strange couple weeks, but settling in. So let's jump right into it. And Jim, I'm going to get kind of you putting in. So before we do that, I'm going to have guests on these Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. And today I've got somebody, a really good friend of mine. I'll let him kind of tell you, but long-term entrepreneur. He's been through a lot of the same every one of the same, because we're the same age too. Same slowdowns that I have. And Jim, welcome and introduce yourself.
Thanks, Renny. Thanks for having me. Jim Gogan from Jim's Auto Installations and Detailing Center in Ipswich, Mass. I've been detailing in business for 35 years. We run a full-service restyling center, so we do not only auto detailing, but car audio, window tint, truck accessories. So basically anything to dress up your vehicle.
Right on. It's a different world, and I wish, couple 2-3 weeks ago, Jim tasked me with really getting to figure out the SOP for working around vehicles and getting in there, and how were we as a group within the detail mafia, how were we going to work our way through this? And I went to work, and the answer was not the answer I wanted, because so many people don't have PPE. But with that, we have found ways to survive, and one of them is survival, even if you've had to shut down. And let me be clear, some shops is that my suggestion was, unless you've got the PPE and you've got a solid SOP that's allowing you to work on vehicles without spreading this stuff around, you're just part of the problem. So since then, we've seen some shops that are doing it right. We've seen a lot of shops that aren't. We've seen a lot of industries, surprisingly, I keep harping about this, but I've only gone out one time, and my mom's, we sold a piece of property, and I went by restaurants and I was blown away. I don't know, Jim, have you been by like a fast food place or anything like that in the last week or so?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people out. Went by Home Depot this weekend, and I got to tell you, it was parking lot was packed.
Yeah, our Home Depot. We've got a Home Depot that same day I went out. But what amazed me was the restaurants. There was really no change in business. They were no face mask, no protection, no anything. And that, to me, that is, there's essential businesses and non-essential, and they're essential business, but they sure weren't going above and beyond, like I would have liked to seen restaurants do. So I decided I'm gonna eat at home right now, and we'll just prepare our own food. And I'd love to support, small businesses that are allowed to open up and get something yummy. But at the same time, with this thing going around, we just don't know. We don't know what it is. Nobody knows, hey, when a scientist can look at you and say, yeah, we don't know. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I'm definitely not going to argue with them. So, hey, Jim, last week, if you were able to attend with us, as we talked about gratitude and just going back and remember what's important in your life, and then the who's of your life. And we talked about the dream, vision, plan, and execute. I'm going to lead off into that, and then by any time, jump in. If you have questions, please. We're going to have a section at the end to go over some things. But, I was thinking about this, is that so many of us got kind of nobody was completely prepared for this. I don't care who you are. You weren't prepared for this. We weren't prepared for a nation or a globe to shut down. I mean, I'm looking at, if you watch, I've been off social media for the weekend, but I wake up and get my news every morning. And then I kind of, honestly, I was a little bit on overdrive, and there's not a lot that I can do except for stay healthy. And that includes my mental health. So I kind of checked out of everything this weekend, but I've read every morning and every evening the news. And you look at India shutting down, all the people going back to their local villages, where they're from. A lot of them just there is no social distancing. There is no keeping away from other people that are possibly sick. We're the lucky ones. We've got it made in most countries. Those poor people, a lot of them, there's just not a whole lot they can do, and they've just got to live with it. And it's just unreal on, so many people right now have the answers, but Do they really have the answers? And so this series has got going back to the basics and just getting ready for when everything does open up, because it's gonna come back to normal. Even when we say, oh, it's never going to be the same. You know, we got really short memories as creatures, humans do. And I think there's a lot of positive that's going to come out of this. There's also a lot of negative, a lot of people losing loved ones, people, name brands, people that we've talked about, we've listened to, you know, their music, we've read their books, people that either have it or are passing away. So it is affecting people, but in the long run, the world's going to keep spinning. This earth's going to keep spinning, and we're going to have to come back and make a living. And, you know, right now the will to survive is all about it. And we're going to talk about who's going to make it, who's a good candidate. So right now, I'll go back to that dream, vision, plan, execute. Is last week we covered it, and if you didn't get to see it, there's a link. We've got we're posting all these up so you can see them to the public. Is that, you know, think of this as a pro athlete, as us on search and rescue or in the military. Is that, you know, you don't just come into something and usually be successful at it. Is that you've got to train, you got to condition. And, you know, all these athletes that the Summer Olympics have been put off until next 2021, that gives them another year to train. Right now, their training is probably not at the level it normally is because of the lack of contact, you know, they can have with others. But I guarantee you that not too many of them have taken this time from eating right, from training, from exercising. They're still figuring ways out to do it. And that's what we as survivors, whether you're in a survival situation for your life, or your survival situation for your business, which right now you're in a survival situation for both, because your livelihood is the way, it's your livelihood. It's the way that you live. It's the way that you feed your family, feed yourself, take care of things, invest, all these different things. And so you're in a fight for that. And so, you know, like an athlete or a special forces person in the military, or somebody on search and rescue, or a lifeguard, they train, EMS, firefighters, police officers, they train. You've got to train and be ready for when this thing opens back up. So Jim has joined me. We've, anybody that we teach a system called the Hour Day Marketing, something that I've worked on for 30 years. Jim's been a huge part of that, because he didn't know it, what it was called back then. But at the same time, these two young dudes on opposite sides of the country are working out the foundations of their little tiny itty bitty businesses. And back in 06, they'd meet up, and that's who's on with us now, is Jim, my buddy. He's been a huge part of getting this Hour Day together. So it's going to be cool to get input on him. So Jim, let's jump right into it. So I want to talk real quick, and we're going out of my book. We're page 4 to be exact. And we're going to talk about the struggles for small businesses, and how we're seeing that play out now. Is one of the biggest ones that we see is lack of capital, or lack of money in the bank. That's a huge one, is lack of capital, no money in the bank. Right now we're seeing people that, it was amazing that within 7 days they were saying their business was going to shut down. And I was like, wow, holy crap. I mean, that means there was no safety net whatsoever. And, you know, I mean, people last week, Peter, that was on the call from Ceramic Pro, says that a lot of people just invested in their shops and just expanded, and bam, this happens. You know, I think that's lack of planning too, is that you've got, if you're going to open a shop and expand, you got to have enough money to keep you going for a little while. Is that you can't just, you know, this is the time there where not having some rainy day funds really hurt people, not just when you're starting your business, but when you're running your business. You've got to have that safety net. And a lot of people just got caught without it. So you got to ask yourself right now, what am I going to do different this next time? How much money can I put aside? There's one of my notes I'd take from today. Is, believe me, that is something I'm looking at this thing every day, man, because it changes every day. And I'm saying, okay, what can I do to be prepared, be better prepared for next time? And that's one of them. We've got money in the bank, but you know what? Is it enough? I've learned this time, it's never enough. You can never have enough savings that, and I don't run a lot of debt. Jim doesn't either. I know that. But I'll tell you, I learned a lesson. My lesson was, I'm a big speaker of no debt. But if you've got no debt but no savings, the lack of debt, I mean, it helps you, but you got to have some money stuck aside. So that's one thing that I've taken out of this. The next thing is that we've got a lot of people in business now in our industry. It's the detailing industry. They just have a real lack of solid knowledge. They've been learning as they go. They've learned, they're YouTube certified. They've never had any formal, education when it comes to detailing. And now they're really struggling. And I think that's why we're seeing, the cowboys out there within doing all these wild things with interiors, is because they just don't understand the science and processes and systems of interiors. Is they just don't know how stuff works. And it's really obvious that they're pretty naive when it comes to it. So you've got to look, when we come out of this, at getting a better education. And this virus thing changes everything. The amount of PPE, the type of PPE, the training and certifications that you've got in PPE, all those different things are going to play a part in the world for the rest of time. Look at what we do now. Is people say, man, it's not going to go that far. I've got one little organization, TSA, that did not exist before 9/11, but yet for almost 20 years, every time we go to the airport, we are dealing with something that happened 20 years ago. We are going to be dealing with things that happen right now for 20 years, 30 years. So our kids will be dealing with stuff from what happens. Most of it very positive. I know this, if the TSA wasn't there and I lived through 9/11, would I feel as comfortable just people walking on an airplane still? Absolutely not. I'm one of those weird dudes that when you scream me and you want to pat me down, yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't want somebody taking shit onto an airplane and making the airplane come down. And so if we've got to take extra precautions, if they're taking our temperatures when we fly and travel, I'm okay with that. I don't want to be on the airplane when somebody's sick, and I don't want to be on an airplane if I'm sick. So there's going to be things that come down. I also don't want my detailer to not know what they're doing, and I don't want my detailer in my car anymore spreading crap around that he or she may have. Maybe it's not a coronavirus. Maybe it doesn't turn into COVID-19. But my point is that from this point on, I'm going to be very choosy about who comes into my house and who comes into my vehicles and what level of protection they're using, not for themselves. Right now, as detailers, we've protected ourselves from issues. Now we're going to have to start looking at it that we got to protect the public, the people that we do business with, from our issues. It's going to be a two-way street now. It's going to go both ways. A lot of people were working, full-time in detailing, but had very little. And again, I'm going right down the list out of my book, page 4. And they're working full-time in detailing, but in reality, they probably need to have a side gig, to put some money away. And again, I know, oh man, hustle. Hey, if you can make a lot more money on your detailing company per hour and put a lot more away, well, that's more evident. You want to take whatever you can do to put side money. I had a call yesterday from a young man. He's got a chance while all this is down to go and make $27 an hour. And I told him, what else you got going on other than spending savings out of your money out of your savings account? Why not go do that? It doesn't mean that your business is going to survive this. All it means is that you're not going to have to dig into your savings account to pay all your bills, is that you're going to do it on your own, and you're going to come out of this smelling like a rose and be one of the strong ones that comes out of this. And so, you've got to actually take and evaluate, am I doing this full time? Should I have a part-time gig? Should I have we're coming into the busy time when this thing hopefully lifts, is we're going to go into the busy time. And I think a lot of people are going to be really successful within the auto care industry. I think they're going to do really, really well. And then also one of the biggest challenges is do you really know how to run a business? Do you have the knowledge and capabilities? Are you taking care of your books? Are you paying payroll taxes on the people that you hire in? Are you trying to fly under the radar with subcontractors, which a lot of people could get stung right now with this because it just doesn't work. That's such a tightrope to walk on using subcontractors. And there's a lot of things that you have to do that. A, they have to make their own hours. B, they have to use their own equipment and products. C, they have to be completely independent of you, meaning that if you change the day or anything they're working, they've got the ability to say no with no retribution. There's a lot of things that come up to it that play into it that will divide an employee from a subcontractor. So, Jim, any input on those items before we move along?
Well, I think you talked about it. When we all start out, we generally don't have any money. And I can tell you that when I started out, I actually worked nights in a machine shop for probably about a year. So it's building up that money so that you can feel comfortable. You should have that money behind you anyways, because in business, when we're back to normal, if you're still trying to pull that money in, that means that you may be lowering your prices on every job just to get it in to cover the bills. And that's where you end up making the biggest mistake, is by dropping your price and not bringing that value to yourself and to your customers.
Well, I'll tell you, and that's you hit that right on the head. I mean, again, man, I right now it's just about survival. And back when you started out working in the machine shop, I'm sure there was nights that you didn't want to be there, right? But you had the greater good in mind, and it worked out well for you because you didn't go into this business with a lot of debt, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I started with nothing, and I just built it up on my own.
That's the way to do it. But so many people want to kind of they're worried about what people think about them. They're worried about, oh man, if I go get a part-time, who cares what other people think about you? They're not paying your bills, man. Be true to yourself. Only you know what needs to be done. Only you know your finances. And if you don't really understand your situation, your finances, I used to always say when I was young, and I still live by this, is that I want to be the dumbest dude at the table. I want to surround myself with really smart people. And that's key. Because if you're around smart people and you share something with them, they're going to tell you the truth from, the facts versus fiction. And so if you don't understand where you're at, find somebody you really trust, not somebody that is, that works for a company, find somebody that's an entrepreneur that's been there. Don't find somebody that's a year too old. Find somebody that's got some years, they've got 12, 15, 20, 25 years in the saddle, and get their input. So now who makes a good entrepreneur? Who makes a good detailer? Is that, let's go back over this and kind of go down the check marks. And I've got about 12 of them. Is that being a good detailer and a good business person is two different things. Detailing without good business skills is a weakness that needs to be addressed. Is business skills without detailing skills is another subject that needs to be addressed. And so right now, the weakest part within our industry is we've got some really skillful technicians that are weak on business. And so, the junior college system is a great system to look into once this all opens up. There's even some free resources for online education going on right now that you can find, that you can start learning. Even just reading books. Go and find out at your local college, if you can find it online, what books they're teaching out of. Even reach out right now, because a lot of this staff is furloughed. They're not working. Maybe you can get the business or the finance person to send you a note back and say what book they're using, and just simply go in and read the book. Realize that detailing is hard physical work. Just like I said earlier, is that dream, vision, plan, execute is the athlete getting ready for the Olympics. Somebody that's, if you're in shape and you keep yourself healthy, you're going to last a lot longer, and you're going to do a better job because you're not going to burn out near as easy. Also, the ergonomics of detailing is that you can't take and beat your body up. Is you got to be using the right techniques. Don't go down low and stay down low all day. Don't be up high. You've got to have good balance. You got to eat right. You got to drink right. A lot of detailers, when we see them, is they run on dehydration levels all the time. They're constantly in their body. They don't even know it. They're dehydrated pretty much 24/7. So make sure that, simple things like that is just hydrating yourself. Knowing that the pro level detailing requires outstanding people skills. That's probably, Jim, I'd love to ask Jim this, is that, I think that our shops, when we're busy operating shops, I think that our training centers are the same way now. I think that every business I've owned inside and outside of auto care, the key to it is I've been as good as technician as there is. Where I've succeeded at is where I've been really, really successful at is my people skills, is being able to take and get along with people and read people and being honest with people and helping people. So Jim, would you toss anything in there?
Yeah, I mean, you talked about all the detail and skills, and that's a whole nother thing in itself. But your people skills, your business skills, reading your customers, let your customers explain to you, what it is that they want, not what you want to sell them, but what it is that they're actually looking for. Take some time, listen to them, and then make suggestions from there.
God, I love that. This next part, Jim, we get into is commit to a long-term dedication and recognition that building a successful business takes time, as it does building a solid set of detailing skills. It's going to take you time. Matter of fact, I have never mastered either one of them. Never. I never will. I'm the type of person that I will never be as good as I can be at anything. And I think that there's similarities in successful people is that, Jim, you had been in business when you came and trained with us. How long had you been in business?
Probably 15, 16 years.
So you'd had, 16 years. We just had a gentleman that came to training that was 20 years in, is that, I take my point to all this is that here Jim was, now you're over that 2006. Cause how many years have you been in business now?
Yeah. Right. So that was probably 20 years in. Yeah.
Yeah. You're 20 years in. And so, I'm the same way, man, is that, I get mentorship, this has done a great job for me because I'm reconnecting with my mentors. One of my chief mentors is a paid mentor. He's a guy that I found, he really changed my life. And he's engaged back in me because he says, Renny, I'm not even going to charge you because we're figuring this out together. And he says, I just love talking to you because you're active in the grind and the hustle right now of running businesses. He says, where I'm retired and kind of I'm overseeing all of our companies. And he says, but you and I talking and getting your perspective is helping me as much as I'm helping you. And I'm like, oh man, really? Because this guy's just like a guru. I mean, he knows so much about business and finance and people. And so, here, what we're telling you is that, professionals 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 40 years in, what the commonality between very successful is that they're constantly learning and they don't mind learning what other people know. They don't know it all. That's the biggest thing that when I see somebody online or if I meet somebody in person, they go, yeah, what possibly could you teach me? The first thing out of my mouth is nothing. It'd be a complete waste for you and I to engage because you know it all. Don't come. And they're like, really? Well, that's kind of what I was thinking. And I'm shaking my head. I'm just like, wow. I mean, I can't imagine. This year alone, already, I've gone through like 3 different online training classes. I've read 5 books. I mean, and right now I'm reading a lot more books. I've got, by the time this is all said and done, I'll probably I try to read 40 books a year. I think now I'm going to be able to do that again. I'm going to get up there, probably 30 or 40 books this year because of the slowdown. I'm taking advantage of that time to learn and fill my brain with more. You got to have a never give up attitude. Know that success has no room for quitters. Jim, how many times through your career were you like, screw it, I'm done?
Plenty. More times than I can count, for sure.
What kept you from quitting?
I think it was just the drive to, I had something of my own that I built up. I think maybe in the beginning, I just didn't want to give up because I really thought it was possible. That I had invested time into it and kind of looked around and figured out, okay, well, what do I need to do to push forward? What's the negative part and where's the positive part? And just focus on the positive and push through.
God, I love it. I love it. And then lastly, in this little section, and we're going to do it in another section, is gauge and learning new skills and continually be educated. Is that, Jim's on the board of directors of the Mafia. He's a founder in the Founders Club for the IDA. He is set on several committees and so forth, and he's never stopped learning. And, both of us when's your birthday? When do you turn 54?
29th of this year.
29th of this?
June.
Of June. Okay. Yeah, I'm April, so I'm right in front of you. So here we are, we're both 54 years old this year, and we're still engaged heavily. Matter of fact, I will say that Jim's more engaged than ever, from an outsider looking in. He is more ingrained in his business and his industry than I've ever seen him. And I've known him, for damn near 15 years now. And it's cool to see how energetic and passionate that he's gotten, even more that he's, 30 years into his business, 30 plus years. And he's even more crazy gonzo, grinding, hustle, all these different things you want to call it, is he's even more so. And so what's that tell you? You can't take your foot off the pedal right now. man, I know one thing to come out of this. I've already told Chris this. We've talked about it 10 times. I know one thing. We're going to work our asses off. When this ends, I won't say we're working our asses off, because I want Chris to enjoy a little bit of life and kind of reset his life and his priorities, because I'm doing the same thing. And so we're working. Chris will tell you, we're working. We haven't taken our foot off the accelerator. We're taking a lot of new projects on. This is one of them. This is something I wanted to do for 6-8 months, and we started it, and I probably won't stop it. It probably won't be 3 times a week, but it will be at least once a week when we get through all this. And so now let's talk about directly into detailing. What are some things that are going to make and break you in detailing? Paint defects. Here's the deal, is a lot of people, they can't get their head around leaving a single imperfection in a car, yet they're not getting paid for it. Everybody, ladies and gents, is that I like to I go above and beyond, but I don't go into a new hemisphere with above and beyond. I always give a little extra something to my customers, but not if it's going to take me mega time and it's going to bite into my profits per hour. Is that you've got to be able to take and let your eyes rest and know what they're paying for. Interior, holy crap. Okay, for the last, I'm going to say since about 2013, 2012, the one thing I've been most concerned with within the industry is the lack of real knowledge and abilities within interiors. And anybody that knows you will say, Diane and I, my wife and I both have been harping on this for damn near a decade, for 6-8 years. We've been harping that the industry has gone so far pendulum right to paint correction only, is that at some point interior education is going to be important. Holy shit, I wish I wasn't right. I wish I would have missed this. We had no idea of the greatness of that need now in moving ahead. Here's the deal, man. I am telling you, coatings aren't going anywhere. They're just simply not. But I would be very well versed in interiors from this point on in the detailing industry for the rest of your lives, because people are going to have a little bit of a tick when it comes to interiors. And again, even who's going into their vehicles and not the possibility of what you're getting, but what you're giving them. And so I think that's an important factor to look at, is do you truly have interior skills? And interior, let me tell you, to truly know interior detailing, the science behind it and the skill set behind it is just as great, if not greater, than paint exteriors. I don't care what anybody says, is you've got to be a semi-scientist to know what you can work on to get certain things out. Because if you're just, throwing all-purpose cleaners in and greasers in, you're doing more damage than good. Especially now, all the bullshit going around with ozone and steam and, sanitizing, I'm spraying this in through an airless sprayer, and, all this shit is so much of it's guesswork. I spent 80 hours researching, what we could and couldn't do, what was acceptable, essential, non-essential. And I've already got 30 years of EMS experience, medical, a little bit of science and so forth. I hang around with scientists from some of the biggest brands in the industry and surrounding industries. We did a whole video series. Jim, I don't know if you remember our video series on ozone that we did back in the day. I got to dig those up and put those old ozone videos back up. And I don't even know what they say anymore. It was built so many years ago. So let's talk about, we're going to end at this subject line is going to be about hustle and hurry up and wait, patience, and passion, and how passion is a giant killer. His hustle is, Jim told you that, he took in for all those nights was working at a machine shop. I sold nuts and bolts the first year. I taught skiing on our business when we relaunched this. My earlier businesses in detailing, I was a kid. I was in high school, and I was an athlete, so I would play football, and I couldn't work during football season, or once we got to 2-a-days, I couldn't work. So I would bust my butt all summer long doing detailing, and if it wasn't busy, I cleaned the back alleyways, the trash area of grocery stores. I watered trees. I did anything. I worked at a go-kart track. I had about a 2-week stint in fast food and decided that wasn't for me. I just got busted. Some football friends of mine came in, and our manager went on a break, and they all got triple and quadruple patties on their burgers and she came up and started lifting the bags in to deliver them to the cars. And she started looking at the order versus the weight. And I was given an option to where I could relieve myself of duty, or I could be fired. So my stint in fast food wasn't very good. So your hustle is hurry up and wait. Let me tell you, I wanted to succeed and needed to succeed quickly as possible. I knew that building my dream empire, and again, empire, not a business, an empire, would take time. Here's what I did. I spoke with everyone, and I mean everyone, and I told them about my business. I used every online opportunity to market my company's brand and my own personal brand. The web's amazing right now. I went into niches right off the bat. I specialized in things. The second that I started my business, I had specialties. For us, it was doing jet aircraft. I invested in education. I never stopped learning. I studied the behavior of buyers and read extensively on becoming a professional salesperson. I spoke at events and got people talking. I held large events at my shop and small events. I backed up our auto industry, local industry, by sponsoring shows. I even got mentioned in the Wall Street Journal and Reader's Digest and on NPR radio back when I was just running shops. And those opportunities brought in anywhere from, $1,000 for the smaller ones, the local paper. So some of them that I was bringing in from the mentions, $35,000 detailing gigs on corporate jets. And this was complete makeovers on Gulfstreams, on major private jets. And so I went out and I talked to everybody, and I got the press talking about me as a small business. Was it easy? No, it was really hard, and it took a lot of time. Matter of fact, all those things I'm talking about, that happened over about a decade period. And so it didn't happen quick. It took time. I know, talking to Jim, there was a time when, this is going to go back, and some of you might not even remember this, and you probably don't remember me telling me the story, but I remember we were talking one day, and you used to sell pagers out of your shop. That's right. You did pagers. And so, that it was another opportunity, right? It was something to bring in more cash flow, correct?
Yeah, it's always trying to figure out how to add. It wasn't related to detailing, but it was a service that was there. It was a need for it, and I found a way to make some money with it.
Well, and I'll tell you, when you come out of this, is that there's going to be a lot of opportunity outside of detailing, and the janitorial industry is going to just skyrocket. And so I've already got Jim. If you remember Wolf, that was down in Texas. He got out of detailing. He's doing pressure washing and major janitorial, and he's going through already right now at a certified level and doing disinfectants in medical facilities. And so, he right timing for him, right. And so those things, but again, he's trained, certified, he's got all the right equipment and products, the know-how and everything else. A lot of people are trying to climb into that industry right now in the midst of this thing, and they're just simply not going to be able to get the education, certification, and the proper products and PPE to support that right now. You're going to have to come out of it and do that. And a lot of people will, and there'll be a lot of money to be made. And here's what I like best about that. A lot of money to be made on a viable, outstanding way, meaning don't fleece people, is good. There's a lot of detailers out there right now spreading a lot of bullshit around that they're decontaminating things when all they're really spreading is bullshit and the actual virus itself. That's all they're spreading. Passion is a giant killer. Let me tell you. Passion is twofold, is that you can have what I call positive passion and then ignorance on fire passion. And so positive passion just means that you love what you do, that you truly, truly enjoy it, and that you wake up every morning and you're ready to go. Now, does that mean you're not going to have downtimes where you're going to quit? Like Jim, man, there was times I was like, screw this crap. I can go get an 8-to-5 job and not have to put up with this crap. Man, I'm working hard. And we'd have setbacks like this, and it would, it set us back. But here's the other reason. And Jim, I'd love to get your take on this. Every time we went through something big, and you've been through all of them, all the housing slowdowns, back in the 90s, we went through the Persian Gulf wars back in 93. The housing slowed down with that. We went through oil crises. We went through mutual fund slowdowns. We went through the tech bubble. We went through 9/11. and all of those, I came out stronger because I took the opportunity to become smarter. Any add to that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely all what you're saying. But one thing that's different with this, with stuff that we've had in the past, is in the past we had down economies. This isn't really a down economy right now. It's just a setback. And when this all releases, hopefully at the end of April, one, that's our spring season. We've lost a little bit of it, but if you're prepared and ready to go and try to figure out what's best for your customers and be there for them, I mean, we could just slingshot this right all the way forward. It's not like trying to pull it out from a totally bottomed out economy. It's just kind of on hold right now. So I think being prepared for when it happens and be ready to go is going to be the turning point for a lot of people.
Boy, amen to that. My big mentors, the guys are a hell of a lot, smarter than me and have a hell of a lot more millions and billions in the bank. Here's what they're saying: is that we were going to go into a downward trend at some point anyway. That we were in a lot of media spinning it all different kinds of ways, depending on the political side that you look at. We were in some pretty great times. I've never seen this many blue collar people with this much money. But it's also very evident now that a lot of them had the money and that's all they're doing is they're just showing, they're peacocking. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them didn't have money put away. And, a lot of them did. A lot of the top dogs, you're going to see some top dogs fall or nearly fall. And you're going to see some of the smart people come up through the ranks that were smart enough that listened, and put money away. Is that I've been told by our gurus that, listen, this thing was going to go down at some point. We just forced it into a downward spiral. Now we just forced it into a upward spiral when we come out of this, but it's going to stall for a little bit. There is going to be a little bit of a stall there, but depending on how well connected you are with your customers, because this is the other thing. We have seen we just talked about this with several different companies, but your Able was on, and we had them on just a week ago. And we talked about this. Is so many within the automotive industry take and concentrate on acquiring brand new customers, and they do very little with their existing client base. Let me tell you, those that have been monitoring, staying in contact, and marketing to their existing customers are going to be the first to come back. They're going to come back way before the people that are trying to go out and drum up and hustle brand new client base. The ones that trust you already and have done business with you already, if you've stayed in contact with them and done a good job at that, you're going to come back a lot sooner. Jim, anything to say to that?
Absolutely. I mean, this is something that you and I have learned together growing our businesses up. But right now is the time you should have been doing it all along. But so we do newsletters, we mail out postcards, pick up the phone, call, see what's going on. But even now, why don't you send out an email and check in with your customers? How's everything doing? How are you guys doing? Prepare a newsletter to let them know that you're going to be there when all this, turns. And keeping that constant touch with customers so, we value them and they want them to value us also.
I'll tell you, and it's one of the biggest tools that we've got is to take and be in that level of contact with your customers and that level of trust. Matter of fact, I've written several times the day that I turned my business from a business of marketing to a business of trust, meaning that my customers trusted me. Once I flipped that and I didn't have to go out and acquire too many new, I really pretty much at one point in our business before 08 hit, we were to the point where we were actually turning away new business. We just could not take it in. Is during the busy times, there was no way we could take new business in. We just simply did not have the means to take it in. And that was a really good position to be at. We took it in, but we took in what we wanted to take in. We didn't take in anything we didn't want, meaning that if the car was trashed and they didn't want to pay our price, that was it. You either paid our price or you didn't. It's not that we didn't give bids to anybody, or if a car was just completely trashed, then we didn't want to pay our price. That was it. You either paid our price or you didn't. It's not that we didn't give bids to anybody, but or if a car was just completely trashed, then we didn't want to pay our price. That was it. You either paid our price or you didn't. It's not that we didn't give bids to anybody, but or if a car was just completely trashed, we could decide that wasn't something that we're into. Or if the person's expectations were too high and their price tag too low, is we had the freedom of walking away from those. That was a really good position to be in and not have it affect our business at all. So, detailing is far more than just a business. It's a lifestyle. It really is. You've got to take and really, you got to take and come through, and having an extension of you is that it got to create the life. So many people build a business, and I've been guilty of it. I think Jim may or may not agree with this. Let's see what he says at the end when I say the statement. But for a lot of years, I built this business that was, it was a business, and I had to respond to the business. And when I was younger, I built a business that had to respond to me. And then I got serious and had kids and got married and all that stuff. And I had bills and I had needs, and I thought I had to just work. And reality is the business was just, it was, it had a hold of my tail. I didn't have a hold of its tail. It was controlling me. I wasn't controlling it. And a business should allow you to live the life that you want to live and not be miserable. And so many people have been working on these small and mid-sized, not even mid-sized, but small and a little bigger detailing companies. And it's got out of hand, and they're working 70, 80 hours a week. And you got to ask yourself, really? I mean, is that what it's about? So once I took control of my business and realized what I was and what I wasn't, what I wanted and what I didn't want, and I've had to even do that in recent times. We started up when I went in partners with PNS on Double Black, is that, wow, for about 2 years, man, I just went hard. And 2019, I at the end of it, we went to our meeting in Tahoe, and I said, hey guys, I don't want to travel like I did last year. And so even leading into this is definitely slowed the travel down. But, my travel was down probably 70%, over last year, and it's going to stay there because I want to take and run the business. I don't want the business running me. Jim, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, when we all start out and, kind of talk about you and I when we started out, 30 plus years ago, we didn't have any place to turn. We just had to rely more on gut and no internet, none of this online classes and stuff like that. So yeah, in the beginning, it totally consumed me. Did it for a long time like that too. And then finally, like you said, you sit back and take a look and figure out what's important and how to find that happy medium. Turn it off on the weekends, but turn it back on. But even right now, when it's slowing down, if you're not working, you should be still getting up every day as if it were a work day and pushing forward. Put your uniform on. Think about the things that can be done and prepare for what's coming.
I couldn't have said any better myself. Every day. Today, I stayed up a little late last night. I was thinking about this today and Wednesday and Friday, what I was going to cover. And so I stayed up late working on these things. But so I wasn't up at my normal real early, going hustling. But to Jim's point is that I'm taking this opportunity to sharpen my skills, to get more discipline, because it's going to take more discipline. If you're binge watching Netflix right now, half the day, you're going to be in trouble when this thing opens up, because, there's only going to be so many customers with money, and you targeting those right customers is going to be very, very important. You need to be looking at that right now and not wait. If you wait and sit on your heels, you're not going to be ready, but somebody else in your market will. So some things that things happen, make things happen while others are wondering what happened. I love that. I'm going to say it again. Watch things happen, make some things happen while others wonder what happened. And that's exactly leading into what Jim and I just talked about, is that there's people going, what the hell's going on right now? What am I going to do? I say that daily. What am I going to do? And I jot it down, and I'm taking and I'm soul searching this again, dream, vision, plan. I'm to that right now. When we open it back up, we're going to execute. Chris and I already have a plan for increasing, the number of trainings we do a month to be able to handle the influx that's going to come in, to make up for the classes we've had to postpone. And then for the new influx of people that are going to see value in education, for the white collar workers that have lost their jobs. We saw this in 08, that are going to come in and want to start their own business up and flip off their boss and not get manhandled ever again from somebody. They'd rather manhandle themselves, than get fired. Right now, it's a very important that you have a never quit attitude, and that your dedication will win wars, that you're going to come through this no matter what. Is if it means you going and getting a full-time gig right now until we open up, man, look at, we know it's going to be another 4 weeks before it comes back. I'm predicting it's going to be 6 for much of the country. Is go get a damn job and make 6 weeks worth of wages and don't touch your savings account. Or go get, that job, because right now you don't have savings to keep you alive or going. The company's going to be there. Then you come home at night, or you come home during the day if you're working nights, and you market your ass off. Simple as that. Is that you just don't stop on both fronts. You're going to be uncomfortable for the next couple months. So be it. But you're going to survive. That's the most important thing. Last, I'll leave you, and we're going to go over one last thing, is that, the movie Rudy, Rocky, any of those motivational movies, you look at the movie Rudy, is maybe I relate to this because I'm 5'0" and was a football player, and didn't have a lick of skills really, in the game of football. Where people couldn't put me down is I just smacked the shit out of people, and I wouldn't quit. Even if you had me, I wasn't going to quit. And I've never been the biggest in anything I've ever done. I probably have never been the best at anything I've done. But my driven attitude and my dedication to myself, my self-pride, and my tenacity, just, you couldn't beat me. It was really hard to beat me. Right now, life as a detailer is that I want people, and I'm doing this myself heavily right now, is when we relaunch, is that I'm making sure there's a good balance between life and work. And I put life first, because a lot of us are going to come out of this on the other side and have a different perspective. This still ain't shit compared to what our ancestors, the stories that I got direct from my grandparents from World War II. They didn't have FaceTime, and they didn't have social media, and they didn't have Zoom to come in, and they had their neighbors. That's all they had. They had their families. That's all they had. They had their community. That's all they had. Guess what? They had more than we do. We've got everything at our fingertips, but in most cases we're misusing it. Now, you that are on there right now, guess what? I applaud you. Those people that are taking the time, you got a lot. You've got community, the sense of community, the emails, the messages, the text messages, the IMs, the DMs that I've received have been so heartwarming for me to see the people's attitude. That's what makes this thing go around. So lastly, let's talk about incredible skills to be a detailer. There's been a lot of chance. When people come to training, we train 48 people a year. I tell them on Friday, the last day of training, that the technical side of this, the skill side of this, was the easiest part to teach them. Is now moving forward the next 2 to 10 to 12 to 15 years is the hard part, is getting them to engage and to build an actual business that supports a lifestyle, not a life that supports a business. And it's very important right now that people realize, listen, you're going to have to work your ass off when we come out of this. No doubt. You're going to have to. You're going to. You should be working hard right now for that whole, the dream, vision, and plan. You should have that ready to go. You should be like, right now, Diane and I are on notice to be dispatched with the National Guard, because my equipment's ready to go. It's going to take me a couple hours to kind of clean it up, depending on where I'm going, and go. You should be the same way. You should be able to go at a last minute response if this thing opens up. Is that you should know the proper way you're going to market, what your message is going to be, how you're going to deliver that message, because it's going to be really loud when this thing opens up. There's going to be a lot of rowdiness. There's going to be a lot of competition. There's going to be a lot of competition from out of the detailing industry to get people's money. So you're not just you're not just going to be competing with other detailers. You're going to be competing with other industries, and you're going to be competing with a limited amount of disposable cash when people come out of this, because they're not going to have a lot of money. But I'm telling you what, if you market it right, you can find some of that money, and they'll share it with you. So basically, the skills that it takes to be a detailer, the skill base, is that I tell people when they get out of here, is that they're going to be able to beat the crap out about 85%, 90% of the detailer skill-wise. There's some true artists out there that you're just going to have to take the next 5-6 years to really, get your art going. And the hardest part is to turn you into a passion-based business owner, entrepreneur, human being, and leave the ego at the door. Make the right decisions for the right reasons and live a good life. Don't chase around. I just got a text from Jason Rose right now. He's going to be on Wednesday with what Jim's doing. So Jim, share a little bit about this, of how, I've made a lot of mistakes of just getting this business to where I worked all too much. And I spent over 10 years just working too damn much. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't work smart. I could have worked so much smarter if I'd listened, if I had people around me. Now you have people around you. What's your perspective on that? Share something about your experience.
Well, I agree. I mean, I think I just, kept working and didn't really have a decent plan laid out, and thinking things through, and maybe offered too many services and tried to bounce around, with doing detailing and the accessories and stuff like that. And then I finally found a focus on it. I would say that going forward right now, is just turn the negativity off. If people start being negative about the whole thing, just walk away or stop the conversation and think positive and have a plan and think it through. But the positive thinking is definitely where it's at right now. You can very easily let the doom and gloom dig in, and I'm not saying it's not there, but if you let it, it'll just consume you and drag you all the way down.
Well, it's a good point. And, with that, I want to open it up to some Q&A. And then I'll cover what we're going to cover on Wednesday when Jason Rose is in here. And, we're not practicing. I didn't talk with Jim about what we're going to talk about. I'm just literally going through the book and just we're just talking. I want to cover the book because it's a baseline. It doesn't have all the answers, and I'm not even trying to sell you my book. That's why I'm going over it. Don't just take notes of what I'm going to cover page by page with you. I know people are tight right now. I can't do a lot for people. I wish we could go out and tell you the secret antidote for marketing your way through this and you wouldn't lose a dime. I don't know. I just don't know. I'm going to be honest. I don't know. I don't think anybody knows right now. Even my gurus don't know. The guys that I call my gurus, they don't know. This is, unless you're about 110, 112 years old, you never remember anything like this in your life unless you go back to 1918 with the Spanish flu. And it hit Philadelphia really tough. You won't know it. So guess what? Pretty much every living entrepreneur guru in the world doesn't know, including myself. I really don't know, but I can tell you the baselines, and the people I'm going to have on as guests, we can share our past experiences of living through these things and the solid fundamentals that have got us through these things. That's what we can give you. We're going to gift you that. So with that, let's go ahead and open it up. Chris, any questions?
I think so. Let me, Tim Jones I think he's listening on Facebook. He emailed us a comment a little while ago. It went back to your existing customers. I just thought it was a good little statistic if it's true. It says, it's been said that it takes 10% of the effort and money to retain an existing customer than it does to find new ones.
Wow. No, it does. And Tim, you're exactly right. And, Tim's he's been at it a long time. His wife's a professional. You're exactly correct, is that, you can take in, it's so much easier and cheaper to market to your existing customers. And I'll tell you, it's a lot funner too. I know Jim does a great job. There's an element. I'll tell you a funny story about Jim. We're sitting down at Mobile Tech. This is several years ago. And we're talking about how to fill up cancellation spots. And we're having this really hardcore discussion about, if there's ever a cancellation, Diane's got this red dot system when she works. And when we ran shops, if somebody called in and they wanted a appointment earlier, she'd say, if we do get the rare cancellation, would you like to have an earlier spot? And if they said yes, she'd simply put a red dot by their name on the schedule book. That meant that they're willing to move to an earlier date. So that way, if somebody didn't show or their car was in the shop or they had a family emergency, we could go right down the list and find somebody for that spot. So we're going all through this. We're planning real hard. And Jim hears everybody goes through and he goes, how about this, guys? how about just leaving an open spot to go have some fun that day and telling everybody to go home and take a short day and kind of enjoy life a little bit. And I'll never forget that, because I felt like such a horse's ass, is because here I preach to people I've overworked, and I'm telling them how to overwork, So sometimes we do only what we know what to do. And many of us came from real basic backgrounds, and we didn't have a lot of luxuries in life. And we don't want to go back to the basics. So all we do is we do what we know best, is we work hard. And I applaud all of us for doing that. But it's okay to stop and smell the roses. And I'm telling you, to Tim's point, taking and marketing to your existing customers allows you to do that. And Jim, when they come in the shop, they're a lot more pleasant to deal with too, because you kind of get to know them pretty well over the years, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, they trust you. They trust what you're selling them, what you're offering. And we might have to show a little compassion. Some people that are working, you say, oh, you know what? The outside didn't really need as much, and, we'll do this time, and, kind of work with them. And in the same case, though, we don't want customers trying to take advantage of us, saying, well, I know you guys haven't worked in 8 weeks, so how about doing it for this price? We certainly don't want that either.
No, that's exactly it. Okay, so Chris, any other questions?
Yeah, I got another Tim. I'm sorry, not another Tim. Thomas Walter. He actually sent us a really nice email earlier too. But his question is, when he made the decision to shut down, he also decided to pull back on his marketing budget. And he's wondering if he should dip into his savings to keep advertising right now.
Ooh, that's a great question. First off, advertising is like half price right now in many cases. The advertising, it was last week. Again, verify this, because our advertising had dipped. I've been watching it. And the investment was a little, I would say don't pull completely off the throttle. Keep your name out there. But what I would rather do, and thanks for the email, by the way, too. What I'd rather do is maybe, instead of putting the budget out there for new customers, is maybe spend a little bit of money, which is not a lot of money at all, is that get on Constant Contact and start sending some newsletters out to your existing customers. Diana in our group that's back in the DC area, she sent out handwritten postcards, greeting cards to everybody, all of her customers. She just thanked them for being her customer for all these years. And she said she's really sorry that that we're facing this as a globe, but to stay safe. And when this all ends, she'll be here. So maybe doing something simple like that, you don't have to dig into savings. And, and again, if you do, I mean, honestly, I think advertising right now, I'm bored out of my mind at a certain point in the day. I've turned off my computer, but I'm still researching stuff. And I have found stuff that I'm going to buy when this is all over. And so I don't think you can totally pull off. We haven't pulled off of ours at all. Matter of fact, we're going to increase it a little bit because it's affordable right now. But you also have to target your market really closely. But I like the idea of going back to what Jim and what the book just talked about, is marketing to your existing clients. I think that'd be a smarter move. All right. Anything else, Chris?
I got some comments.
Let's hear 'em.
Oh, here's a question from William. Says, Jim, I know you do very well with gift cards during these times. How will you recommend for us to sell gift cards, or should we wait?
Selling gift certificates are great. Selling gift certificates at a 50% discount to bring in revenue is a bad move. One, it shows the desperate level, which may scare customers. I mean, I saw one the other day and I was like, is this guy even going to be around when this comes out? And then, if someone came in today and wanted to know, would you work for 50% off? You probably wouldn't. So gift certificates are great if it's part of your plan, but it needs to be part of your plan. If it's a way to raise capital right now, I would not do that.
Yeah, I would have to echo off of Jim. I think right now, gift cards, I think put it on the side burner. Really, there's nothing major coming up. Mother's Day is the closest thing that you're going to really be able to, but you're not going to get their attention right now. Matter of fact, the more you can keep out of people's pockets right now and just educate, I think the better. I've been looking at a a toy down the road, and I've got two different responses from the people that I'm looking to shop with. Is desperation, offering huge discounts, and to me, they're just trying to get into my pocket. And then I've got another exact same brand, but a different location that's educating and talking about fun things to go do with this little thing. And so two different, and guess who I'd give my money with to the other one. Matter of fact, I've completely disconnected with them, is that I don't even care about them, because all they're trying to do, and I dig survival, but we're all in this together right now. Everybody's in the same, unless you're in the toilet paper industry, you really don't have the ups on anybody. You know what I'm saying? And even then, can you imagine if the toilet paper companies, all of a sudden there was a shift and there's a 500% increase on the cost of toilet paper? Would you ever buy, and I'm not saying Charmin's doing this, so don't think I'm saying it, but if could you imagine if the owners of Charmin did something that silly, would you ever buy Charmin from them again? The answer is no. It's just like the restaurants I'm seeing that didn't take any PPE. I haven't been out, but I've been driving by to see what they're doing. I'll never eat there again. Because if they're not taking precautions now, that means they're really sloppy in their kitchen when this isn't happening. I like to, hey, Chris, I'm looking at Rick Walling said it. I've always said, if you're going to do your job right, one car should turn into three. You should get the neighbor and the person who sits next to them and at their job, or your customers can be your best advertising. Rick, amen. I've got a little different approach. It's called sniper approach. One bullet, 3 kills. But isn't it amazing? Rick, how long have you been in business? It's amazing that you've got the same theory. We did the same thing, and I want you guys to listen to that. Rick's a wise dude. And here's the deal, is that if you take and try to turn every customer you come in contact with and get referrals, that's the best business you can get. So, Rick, great point. I'm glad you did that. William Lara, hey, I agree. He says he does social media marketing. Now is a great time to spend a little bit on paid ads, just to get in front of people. And I wouldn't be advertising services as much as I'd be advertising your know-how. Is what I mean by that is I would be educating people the differences on, and I wouldn't be taking on an industry of idiots that is still going out there and trying to convince everybody that they're sanitizing the vehicle. Maybe 5% in the industry is doing that. And oh boy, the hate's going to come out now, but I don't care. Is the facts the facts. Don't go take those guys on. You know what I'm saying? Just don't. And also you guys can go to, for the replays, Chris did this out. Chris, you want to tell them where the replays are posted?
Yeah, we're, our blog over on detailingsuccess.com, will have replays of everything we've been doing. You could also usually see the replays of these almost immediately on Facebook. Facebook puts the recordings up as well.
Cool.
So,
all right. Any other questions there, Chris?
no actual questions.
Comments?
A lot of good positive comments. John Fernandez out in Florida, he made a decision. They made a decision this week to close down their business, and they've just been working on other stuff to build it up in the meantime. So I don't think they had the mandatory shutdown yet out there. Trying to see what else here.
Well, I'll tell you, Florida's getting hardcore though, because they got all the New Yorkers with family down there, and they're trying to escape New York. And Florida could have a big problem. That could be the next blossom, so to say, of cases breaking out. It's pretty unreal. Have anybody in the industry been tracking any detailers coming down with it yet that you've seen?
Not that I've seen.
I haven't been on social media for 48 hours, so I haven't actually for about 50 hours. So I'll go back on today.
Yeah, I'm obviously staying away from my in-laws, but they have it. And they still haven't been tested, but they've been told they're 99% sure that they have it.
Yeah,
so
these are pretty. From what the meetings I've been on with EMS and the Guard, is pretty much now is that the test takes so long. That's part of the downtrend of the test, and the symptoms are symptoms. They know it. They basically get your symptoms, take your temperature, ask you a few questions, and they know if you've got it or not. So. It's pretty obvious. So, well, cool. Hey, we'll be back on. Hey, Jim, any closing comments from you before we take off?
No, but thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure, and anything I can ever help to anybody, I'm always here.
Well, you sure been there for me for a long time, my friend, and I sure appreciate it. And I wanted to have Jim on because he's got so many years, decades in the industry of being an entrepreneur and a small business owner, and it was my honor to have you say yes. So thank you. Now on Wednesday, we're going to come over this. We're going to talk about the age bracket difference between the detailing industry is what I call wise versus fresh. We're going to talk about different people and what they instilled in my life and what you should be looking for right now for people to instill into yours. We're going to have some reality checks, you know. We're going to have talk about our drive. We're going to look at really what detailing is, you know, what it should be. And then how to kind of be looking at it from a customer's perspective is, you know, a lot of times we look at it from a detailer's perspective, but we don't look at it from a customer perspective. And then ironically, we're going to take an end. Jason Rose helped write the book. He did a whole section in there, and it's ironic that he's going to fall perfectly on Wednesday because we're going to go over his section and what he talked about within his section. And so it's going to be a nice additive in this to have him live with us. So it will probably be a little longer on Wednesday. But again, if you can't, you know, I don't know what you guys are doing to keep you busy, but hopefully you're doing something with family and you can't make it. But we will we'll be covering those things, having a little fun. In the meantime, I'm going to reconnect on social media, but I'm staying away from all the non-shit shit. I'm almost scared to even open it back up because it's going to, like, you know, it's almost like a crap grenade going off, you know?
You know what, though? I think I'm starting to see things kind of revert a little bit back to normal. I think other people are getting tired of it, too.
Good. Well, I'm going to just ignore it and put blinders on like a horse or stick my head in the sand like an ostrich and not pay attention to the bullshit because, you know, I understand so many people, some good people, some people I really respect, just they freaked out, you know what I'm saying? Or we saw their true identity pop out. I don't know which one. But, you know, I just refuse to buy into the mudslinging and bullshit. And, you know, you got to call it like you see it. And that's all we can do. So, hey, everybody stay healthy, stay positive, man. And just don't back off the throttle right now. You know, as Jim just said, keep on that schedule, make your bed every morning, act like you're going to work, go make things happen, build websites. You know, we've got a lot of goals to happen this week with us while having some fun. A little bit of fun, you know? So Bob Phillips says, nice job, Renny and Jim. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate that. Frank, thank you. You be safe also. Any videos or books you guys would recommend about detailing? Well, of course, my book that I'm reading out of is on Amazon. Just tap in How to Start a Home-Based Car Detailing Business. That's what we're reading out of if you want to go buy it. But I'm basically going to cover the book over these meetings. I think we'll get through it before May 1st or May 15th. If we don't, we'll double down and just go down one day a week until we cover it. But you can buy the electronic copy. Right now, I'll tell you a good book I'm reading is You Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. That's a great book. It talks about his struggles as a kid and coming up and then facing the adversities of becoming special forces. It's an incredible book. So that would be a great book to read. I think that I'm going back to an old book. I'm going to read it again. I've had it for 30 years or 25 years. It's called Guerrilla Marketing. Go back to the original one. The original one's the best. I mean, it is unbelievable at good. At videos, I'm not much of a video watching dude when it comes to, you know, I've always had the attitude that I don't need pick-me-up videos, you know, like, you know, I don't know. I think if you need to pump up, you kind of got a flat tire, and I've never had my tire go completely flat. And so I like to kind of read books that are going to educate me. And then the people around me I use as motivation. So you guys all, Fernando, what's up, buddy? Take care, man. I'm down in Mexico. Hope you're safe, bud. So
hey, Renny, I got a question that we got a couple days ago we could address.
Okay, do it.
It was from Chris Chitwood on one of the previous broadcasts. You mentioned a book that I think was kind of about survival mentality.
Yeah.
Do you happen to remember the exact name of the book?
You know, I actually wasn't talking about a book. Well, there's a couple things that you can is search and rescue wise is God, let me think of it. I will list it. I'll put it on social media. But really, what I was talking about that day was my own attitude towards becoming a survivalist. Is that, and I'm doing a podcast with them. I'll try to get it done today, and talk about that. But the Freedom of the Hills. There's a book called Freedom of the Hills that talks about it's basically about mountaineering. And God, that was a great question. It's really nothing about business, and it's really nothing about search and rescue. It's more about freedom of the hills and mountaineering and what people get out of mountaineering. It's a book I read as a really young man when I got into SAR, and it really changed my perspective on things. And so it's a great read, but it's would I recommend it? Yeah, probably not right now. I think that it's a book to read during this 6-week period. But I would probably do David Coggin's book, and then I'd probably do Extreme Ownership. Those are two that I do. Purple Cow, I think, would be a great one. Jim turned me on to that one. Remember that book, Jim?
Yeah.
That's you still have it?
No, but you know what? That's another one I'm going to put on my list to read back through.
Yep, I've got mine out, and I've got 6 books to finish. I'm gonna try to get them done in the next 2 weeks, and then that's the next one I'm gonna start, as I'm gonna reread Purple Cow. So, I love that. Our Power of Broke, Damon John. That's a great book. I haven't read it. I've just read the reviews on it. So, all right, everybody. Hey, go have a great day. Make it productive. Jim, thanks for joining us. Jason, we'll see you on Wednesday. I'll send you over, Jason, some things I didn't take the time to send Jim anything. But I'll send you yours because it's stuff that you actually quoted on in the book. So I'll text it over to you right now. But you guys take care of yourself. Be safe, and hunker down, and let's count your blessings. We'll talk to you soon.